So already I've started recording this class for the purposes of those people who are not able to join us because of one reason or the other. And maybe they would want to know what we have learned and be at par with us. So that's why we do what we call recording of the class. This recording is usually shared on the portal. In case you are doing revision, you don't understand what we said, and you want to go back to what we said or to understand what we had said or what we had learned before. So before we start on chapter 2 or topic 2, last week we looked at introduction to public relations, and we defined public relations according to various scholars. If my mind serves me right, we did public relations by British Institute of Public Relations. We also did definition of public relations by Frank Jeffkins and Daniel Yadin. And we also did public relations by what we call the Mexican Statement. And I remember very well saying that the Mexican Statement, I like the Mexican Statement. Even though it is very long, it is easier once you understand the concept and how you, and the way you once you understand the concept and what it says, becomes very easy. And I gave what we call a real life experience of that particular definition. That is it. So today we are focusing on issues management. We are focusing on issues management. And when you talk about issues management, first of all, we ask ourselves, what is an issue? And when you talk about an issue, in my own understanding, an issue is a point of conflict between a person and the other, or between two or more, between a person and two or more groups. A very good example of an issue can be, for example, water. Water can be an issue. We can also have something like, water can be an issue. Food can be an issue. Clothing can be an issue. Anything can be an issue. And issues, you need to deal with them there and then. Because if you don't deal with an issue, it graduates and becomes what we call a conflict. And when you talk about a conflict is the one that puts the organization or an individual in a situation whereby you are forced to explain what happened, or it puts you in a way that you are tarnishing your own image. Let me give an example. We have organization X. In this organization, employees are complaining of low salary. They are being paid low salary, or maybe they are complaining about water. The water and sanitation, they are very poor. They are not good. They are not healthy. And the organization fails to listen to this issue and to attend to this issue and to solve it once and for all. By maybe making sure that there is clean water, toilets are clean, or maybe the employees are salary is looked is dealt with by maybe increasing the salary and so on and so forth. Now, if this problem persists, what will happen is that these employees, they will no longer come to report to you, but they will go on strike. These employees will no longer come to talk to you, but they will start doing what? Picketing. You know what picketing is? Simply means that they will carry placards, they will go to the street, and they will say haki yetu. And what will that do to the organization? It will tarnish the image of the organization, because at the end of the day, the media will be attracted to come and ask these employees who are picketing or demonstrating what is wrong. And the employees will say, we have worked in this organization for the past 10 years. Since we were employed, the salary that I earned the first day is the salary that I am earning 10 years up to now. And then it will put the organization into the limelight. It will put the organization into the, what we call, into the newspapers, into the headlines of the news. And these will tarnish the image of the organization. Remember, when you talk about image is fluid in nature, such that the image of an organization changes with time. Remember last week, I told you to read on the different images of public relations, whereby we have the wish image, the corporate image, the multiple image, the mirror image, and the rest. So the image of the organization will change. Now, labda, you realize that it takes a lot of time. It takes even years to build the image of an organization, but it will only take seconds to destroy that image. And once you destroy the image of the organization, then it means that the public outside there, remember we talked about the publics of public relations, according to Jeffkins, and we said that there are so many publics of public relations, and we defined publics by saying these are groups of people that interact with an organization either directly or indirectly. So these publics will run away from your products, from your services. And by so doing, you'll find yourself doing what? Closing down. Closing down. So those are issues that should be dealt with. If you fail to deal with an issue, it graduates, it becomes a conflict. We also have issues even in government, in the government, whereby the government or a government is unable to deal with issues to do with water, especially in those semi-arid areas. Like say, for example, Garissa, say, for example, Wajir, say, for example, Loitok, is it not Loitok? Yeah, Loitoktok, say, for example, Pokot, the Marakwet, and so on and so forth. And you find that one group of people will go looking for greener pasture in another particular area where the other group lives. And in the process, the other group will see as if these people are competing for water with the other group. That's why you realize the government, if it's not able to deal with that issue of water, there will be conflict. And this conflict, just like we have witnessed before, there will be killings, there will be stealing of cattle. One community will steal cattle, the following day, the other community will come and steal cattle and even burn the houses. Those are the kind of conflicts we are talking about. So before an issue graduates, as a PR practitioner, you need to deal with it. You deal with that issue to the latter. And that you will be barring it from graduating it to become a conflict. So issue management, therefore, we can say that it is identifying. First of all, you need to identify an issue. You need to analyze that particular issue and then develop positions and briefing management on public policy issue that will have a critical effect on the company. Remember, when you are talking about the definition by the Mexican statement, those who read and those who are in class, we said that the Mexican statement says that public relations is the art and science of analyzing trend. Remember, who is analyzing trend? It's the PR practitioner who is analyzing trends. Once you analyze trends, you predict their consequences. So you need to analyze an issue. Then predict.
You guys, it's date night. We are about to go and let's go check out a new spot because we haven't really explored. We really haven't explored it at all. And we haven't been like in a while.
So we said already nimetoa huyo, because we said when you're joining my class, make sure that your microphone is off. So we said that as far as the Mexican statement is concerned, that it says this, it states that public relations is an art and science of analyzing trend. And who does the analysis of a trend? It's the PR practitioner who analyzes a trend. You need to analyze an issue. Once you analyze that issue, you predict the consequences of that issue. Analyzing the trend, predicting their consequences, Then after you predict the consequences of the issue, you do what? You counsel the organization leaders. You sit down with the organization, those leaders in the organization, the CEO, the owner of the organization, the decision makers in the organization. You do what? You counsel them. You counsel the organization leaders. Once you counsel the organization leaders, then you're going to come up with what we call a planned program of action. A planned program of action is we are talking about coming up with ways in which you are going to deal with that particular issue, so that it will not so that it will not graduate and become a crisis. And then after doing that, this planned program of action, you are doing it for the benefit of the organization and for the benefit of the public. Because if you don't deal with this issue, it will graduate to become a crisis. Once it graduates and become a crisis, it will tarnish the image of the organization. Once the image of the organization is tarnished, customers or the public will start doing what? Pulling out. And once they start pulling out, remember, organization exists to make profit and to do what? And to maintain or to create a good relationship with the customer. So then you will be left like that as an organization. You can close down or you shut down completely. So that is why we are learning today issues management. So issues management is concerned with focusing. To focus is to predict. To focus is to predict. Sometimes you hear in the media saying weather forecast. Weather forecast, they are only predicting that tomorrow it will rain. Tomorrow parts of the country they are going to experience hot sun and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. So it is concerned with focusing the likely impact of issues and advising management on how to respond on them. You see, when you look at this particular definition, issues management is concerned. Let me highlight it. When you look at that, it goes hand in hand with the definition that the Mexican statement, that issues management is concerned with focusing. Focusing is predicting the likely impact of issues and advising, counseling organizational leadership, and then doing what? Responding to them. Responding to them for the benefit of the organization and the public. So therefore, without wasting much time, we go to the stages in issues management. Remember, when you're managing an issue, you are doing what? It is a stage. Muya Agatha, unatupigia kelele. Can you switch off your microphone? Now you can imagine if we had like 10 of these Muya Agatha here. This class will never take off. Tutabaki tu hapa tu kwa introduction. So kindly, when you're joining class, make sure that your microphone is off, unless you're called upon to speak. So therefore, we go to the stages in issues management. And number one, we are saying that you need to create your own list of issues that appear to be on the move. For example, this is an organization. Make sure that you do what? Make sure that you come up with a list of issues that appear to be on the move. For example, if it is water sanitation, or if it is sanitation, make sure that if it is an issue, make sure that you come up with a list of that. If it is issue to do with the firefighting or issue to do with poor working environment, come up with a list of those issues that are affecting the organization. Find them by being in touch and by asking around and by consulting. Who are you consulting? You are consulting the employees, because the employees are the ones that can tell you the issues that are affecting them. Number two, you are being told, assign priorities to the list according to the time scale and the likelihood of the issue moving. In other words, you're being told, ensure that the most important thing, the most important issue is dealt with first. Then we go to the second most important thing until we get to the last thing. So assign priorities. Then number 3, you're told validate your time scale with the external sources you trust. Validate your time scale. For example, make sure that this issue, we are going to deal with it within 2 weeks. We are going to deal with it within 2 days. We're going to deal with it within maybe a month, and so on and so forth. So set priorities according to the likely significance and impact of your organization. So when you are setting a priority, be able to note that, for example, this one is more impactful. If we don't add the employee's salary, this one, they might go on strike. Or maybe, for example, safety is the first thing. Ensure that you do what you set priority according to the likely significance and impact on your organization. Then validate all these priorities. And then from there, you're told to discuss and validate your approach with the key players internally. But if you are talking about security, go to the security department, discuss and validate your approach with them. And then articulate on a paper the opinions open to your organization for management of the issues. So I'm not going to read all of them, but finally you're told establish which corporate colleague is going to become responsible for the issue. For example, you have all the issues with you. You have come up with a list of issues. You have set priorities on those that are going to be dealt with first and those that are going to be dealt with last. Once you do that, establish a corporate colleague. Say, for example, this one, HR is going to handle, and a specific person in the HR department will handle this. If it is about safety, go to the safety department, select a person who will deal or who will become responsible for that particular issue. Then apart from that, we go to crisis management. And when you're talking about crisis management, you realize that companies, organizations, they are spending a lot of money. They are spending a lot of money and execution, large amount of money and executive time in developing and maintaining their own corporate reputation. For example, the adverts that are running on TV concerning an organization. An organization has spent a lot of money to run that particular advert. And the moment you run an advert, you create a positive image and a positive reputation for your organization towards the public. Sometimes we have billboards along Thika Superhighway, along Thika Superhighway, Mombasa Road. We have them on Waiyaki Way. We have them on major highways, and all these are to create what we call a good reputation of your products and services. So in other words, we are saying that organizations are spending a lot of money to do what we call adverts, to create awareness to people, and to have in place procedures and personnel who protect this particular reputation. The people who protect this reputation are public relations practitioners. They have been employed in organizations to do what? To protect the reputation of the organization. We also have people like lawyers. They have been put in place in an organization to protect the reputation of organizations. Therefore, if you create, for example, an issue, you are not able to handle an issue, and then it becomes a crisis, you can imagine how much money you would have lost for maybe 10 years or 20 years or even 100 years. Think about a company like, for example, Bata. I was reading somewhere that Bata is going through difficulties as far as finances are concerned, economic crisis. Think about a company like Uchumi Supermarket. Think about a company like Kenya Airways. The money that they have spent, and they are going through losses. Look at the cases that have that Kenya Airways is facing. About 2 deaths, people dying in their aircraft. That is negative reputation. And when you think about it as a customer, of course, a customer is one of the publics of public relations. Would you want to board KQ when you're going somewhere, or when you're traveling to a far country? Would you want to do that? Bearing in mind that 2 people have already reported dead on various occasions, while already they had boarded that particular aircraft. So those are some of the issues. They bring about what we call, they tarnish the reputation of the organization. So there are three things. We are saying that when a corporate tragedy occurs, for example, when there is a corporate accident, let me just call it accident or tragedy, when it occurs, people want to be reassured. For example, a fire is a crisis. In an organization, when you talk about fire, fire is a crisis. And what does it show? It shows if a fire break, if there is a fire outbreak in an organization, it shows that that organization is unable to fight fire, or it has people who are very incompetent when it comes to suppliers of materials that can fight fire. It shows that you don't care at all, because these are issues. Maybe in an organization, an employee said that we need to have firefighting equipment. And then the organization, during its time of what we call prioritizing what we call issues, it actually put it as the last item to be discussed. So you can imagine. So it will bring about, or it will create what we call a negative image about the organization. So the people want to be reassured of some things, three things. Number one, they want to be reassured that the company had everything in place to protect the tragedy from occurring. Whenever you go to an organization, you need to be reassured that everything has been put in place to protect a tragedy from occurring. For example, think about an institution where people go with their laptops, with their belongings, very expensive belongings. Before you leave your belongings there, say, for example, your electronics, like laptops and very expensive phones and cars. There are people who drive themselves to work. You need to be reassured that the company has done everything to ensure that there is safety and no theft can occur in that particular organization. Number two, people want to be reassured that in spite of such preventative measures, the organization had the foresight to anticipate the possibility of something going wrong, and they know what to do to solve the problem quickly as possible. If you are driving yourself to the organization, you are leaving your car at the car park of the organization, you need to be reassured that your car is okay. And in case a thief comes to steal your car or to break into your car, then the organization knows how to deal with that. And number three, we are saying that the organization cared about what happened, that the organization needs to show that it cared about what happened. If it is a belonging that was stolen, if it is fire that broke out in an organization, the organization should be in a position to show that it cared about what happened. How is it supposed to show that? Maybe by sending you the messages, by asking whether you are safe. Say, for example, it is fire outbreak. It needs to ensure that all the employees are okay by asking whether you are, or something like that, following up whether everything is okay and so on and so forth. So preparation entails, number one, you need to conduct what we call risk audit. To conduct a risk audit is identifying areas where the company is most vulnerable. For example, if it is all about fire, the company is vulnerable in terms of firefighting, you need to conduct a risk audit. An audit is simply checking whether things are in place and checking whether the things that are in place are they the suitable procedures, the best equipment, and so on and so forth. Number two, you identify audiences who could demand information in a crisis situation and how they'll be communicated with. For example, when a crisis occurs in an organization, say for example, it is fire outbreak, the first people to get there will be the community, and maybe probably the second will be the media. They'll be demanding for this information. How are you going to ensure that this information is communicated to them? Because you're not supposed to chase them away. If you chase them away and you don't give them information, then they will look for another alternative to get the information. And the information that they get might be the wrong one. And that is what they are going to publish. So therefore, as a PR practitioner or as an organization, you need to ensure that in case a crisis occurs in an organization, the people who will come demanding for information get the information from the right office, not from every Tom, Dick and Harry. Because if you chase them away, you wafukuze kabisa waambie kwendeni, na wafukuze kabisa na waambie hakuna kitu. We have nothing to say. They will look for those people, those employees that are affected, and those employees will give them the information, and the information might be lacking facts. It might not be the right, or it might not be the right information. Then number 3, you're told identifying and training spokesperson. Not everybody that the media personnel comes across should give them information. You need to train people, specific people, that in case of a fire crisis, in case of accidents in an organization, in case of things to do with demonstrations in an organization, if the media come asking for information, if the community comes asking for information, if the shareholders come asking for information, you will direct them to the right person. And this is all about by training the spokesperson and ensuring that the employees knows exactly what they are supposed to say during a crisis. That during a crisis, when the media personnel come, you direct them to a specific person and to a specific office. Then that way, you'd have done what we call prevented so many things, rumors and information that has got no direction from being published and being portrayed on TV or even on social media. And then lastly, you're told test everything. Once you have done the what we call the risk audit, test everything. If you're told that this is the firefighting extinguisher, test it whether it is working, because if a fire, if there is what we call the fire outbreak, and then you had not tested it before, then you'll find that that fire is going to consume so many things or so many products. So test everything. So all these points that I've talked about, conducting risk audit, identifying audiences who could demand information in crisis situation, identifying and training spokesperson, and also testing everything, actually explained in details. They are here, they're explained in details, so you can read and understand. Unless there is a question before I move to something else. So there is identifying the audiences that will come seeking for information. That one we've talked about. I've talked about identifying and training spokespeople. That one I've talked about. I've talked about testing everything. For example, if it is firefighting equipment, test whether they are working, because you might be discouraged in case there is fire outbreak and the firefighting machine or equipment is not working. Then we go to crisis management teams. So it is important that every organization should set up a permanent crisis management team, and its composition will depend on the kind of organization in question. For example, you are told whether it is located in several locations and the nature of the business which it is engaged in. So a typical crisis management team could consist of maybe, for example, a managing director, an MD. Sometimes an MD is known as the CEO. Sometimes the CEO is also known as the president. In some companies, they call them the president. Sometimes we call them, managing director. So it should consist of a managing director or the CEO. Number 2, it should have a public relations manager. Remember when you talked about public relations, we said that public relations is like the ears and the eyes of the organization. It is also the mouth of the organization. A public relations officer or manager speaks on behalf of the organization. That's why even in government, you'll find that we have the government spokesperson. He speaks about what is happening in the government and maybe which is bringing about concerns. So the same case with an organization, there is that person who speaks on behalf of the organization. Even in families, there are some families, especially some families whereby they have what we call a family spokesperson. Not everybody speaks in case of a crisis. They will say that they will send their spokesperson to speak. So in short, we can say that is our public relations manager in this particular organization. So then we also have a works manager, that is a technical officer. For example, a technical officer can also be involved in issues to do with in case something is not working, in case the transformer there are some sparks that are coming from the transformer. There is a technical manager, a technical officer, or works manager. Then we also have safety officers. Safety officers are the people in case of a fire. They will help to evacuate people from the building and take them to a fire assembly point. Then we also have personnel officer. Nowadays, we don't have personnel. Personnel is an old term that was used. It was used some years back. Nowadays, the personnel officer is the HR, the human resource officer. It's the one that is now that title. The HR is the one that took the title instead of using the personnel officer. So this team must be small in order to make it easy for the process of communication among them. Remember, when you have a very big team, again, it becomes very difficult to communicate, very difficult to get the people, and so on and so forth. So the team must be very small for coordination purposes, for communication purposes, and among them, members of the team should not have disputes in case of a crisis. Remember, when we have a very big team, the likelihood of getting disputes is very high. But when you have a very small team, the likelihood of getting disputes and getting disagreements or having disagreements is very low. So a crisis erupts during an absence of illness or illness. So the team must hold rehearsal from time to time. For example, if it is fire, we must be having rehearsal every now and then, because we don't know when the fire will break out or will something of the sort. So the team must hold rehearsal from time to time. Maybe every after 1 month or 2 months or after 3 months, because the fire doesn't come knocking. The strike or picketing does not come knocking. Tastukia tu employees wameenda strike. Ni nini wameenda strike? Wamekataa kuongezewa salary. Utastukia transformer imelipuka. Imefanya nini? Imechoma the company, part of the company. So it doesn't. So therefore, we are saying that you must hold rehearsal from time to time. Show the people how to use those particular fire extinguishing equipment. Tell them, show them how to use them. In case of a fire, what will happen? Don't use the lifts. Use what we call the staircases. In case of fire, this is what you do. You meet at the assembly point, and so on and so forth. So this rehearsal, you do them every now and then. It should be easy to contact them by phone. The people that we have just said, the team that we have just talked about, it should be very easy to contact them by phone. And the initiative to tackle the crisis must be taken by the organization and not the media. There are some organizations whereby they give the task of tackling the crisis to the media. So you can imagine the media doing that. So it is the organization that should tackle what we call the crisis. In case of a crisis, people have gone on strike, you send the media people to go and collect views from the people who are doing or who are picketing or who are holding what we call placards along Nairobi Superhighway. So the organization should call the media, but not other way around. In case of a crisis, it is the organization that should call the media. It is not the media calling you. We have heard that your employees are on strike. Can we come and cover the news? No, it's not like that. Because when you call the media, it's like you are taking responsibility and you are controlling them. You first of all tell them this is what has happened. So if they are going to publish something, then they will publish what you have told them. But if they come by themselves, they will start to first of all interviewing people, doing what we call the Vox Populi interview. And they might get the wrong information and they will not even come to the organization. Sasa nyinyi mtajipata kwa media mumeanikwa huko kama organization. So the first task of the team is to determine how to handle an emergency. So there are two kinds of possible crises. Number one, there is what we call the likely crisis. For example, when you talk about likely crisis, you know very well this might happen. For example, in a petrol station, we know very well we can have fire outbreak because we are selling fuel. And anybody can come smoking while a car is being fueled, and it might turn out to be a crisis. Those are likely crises. For example, if you work in a marine, or you work in a marine, you are a maritime soldier. The likely crisis is you can sink, the ship can sink, and so on and so forth. And then we also have the unlikely crisis. Unlikely crisis, these are things that you cannot predict. For example, building collapsing, that is unlikely. Fire outbreak, these are unlikely things. In an institution like a university, these are unlikely things. Things like, say, for example, earthquakes, these are unlikely things. Also, we are being told likely crisis in, for example, a hotel is food poisoning. It's likely that somebody will come eat your food in a hotel and get what? Get food poisoning. That's a likely crisis. So that being said and done, we are going to stop at that point. Unless there is a question. Kuna swali? Any question? Do we have any questions? Those who are putting reggae for us, do you have a question? Other than telling us nobody can stop reggae. Kuna swali? So if there is no question, then I have activities for you. I'll stop sharing the screen. And I'll go directly to my portal. But before I go to my portal, this is what I have decided I will be doing. I will be calling your name. And this time around, I'll call your name once because this class is becoming big. I'll call your name once, then you say present. If you don't say present, I'll take you absent. So nitaita jina lako mara ya kwanza. Na usipojibu.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes.
I have a concern. Last week you marked me absent.
After repeating names 3 times.
I've realized you are marked for today present, but last week on 9th you marked absent. So kindly check on that.
So today I'm going to so what I'm saying is there is a discussion forum that needs your attention there. The discussion forum reads like this. In less than 200 words, in not less than 200 words, discuss what communication entails in crisis management. And then lastly, we have quiz 2, explain 5 issues in Kenya that were ignored by the government and they graduated into crisis. Those are the only things that you need to do and to look at. Now you have a forum and a quiz. That is quiz 2. Remember last week we did quiz 1. So that is quiz 2. So my machine is going off. So I'm looking for a place I can charge it. So I listen to those who have got concerns. Nani hao wako na concern? Amseme haraka.
Cha mimi sijaona jina langu.
Hujaona ama hujasikia? Ama zote.
Nikitaka kuitika then my phone ilihang.
Hiyo sio simu uko nayo. That is a SIM card holder that you are having. Hiyo sio simu, ni SIM card holder.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse.
See, I deal with the issue one by one.
Excuse me.
Madam, nimesema let me deal with the issue one by one. Tumeona.
Sawa.
Na hii maneno hatutakuwa tunarudia. You have to be attentive. Let it be the last and the first and the last time I'm repeating these names. You have to be attentive or you look for a good gadget. Huyo mwenye hajasikia jina yake ni nani? The first person alikuwa ni nani?
Lilian Karanja.
Sawa, wacha nitafute Lilian Karanja kwanza. Then the next person will be telling me shida yake ni gani. Lilian Karanja wa Irimo. Is it Lilian Karanja wa Irimo? Lilian, si nimekutik present. Ni nini ingine unataka? See, I had ticked you present.
Naona ni absent.
My friend, you are present. Or you want to see? Lilian, unajiona hapa? DK hapa. Can you see my screen? Your number is 070.
Yes.
Si uko present? Kwa nini unanisumbua Lilian? Yeah, forget about the portal. You are present on my side. Any other person?
Yes.
Hi, sir. My name is Emmanuel Ndirang. I have a problem.
Unajua mtajiongelesha nyinyi wote hapo.
No.
Nimesema one at a time.
Okay, sir. My name is Emmanuel Ndirang.
So what is your problem?
The problem is my units have not been reflected. Now getting into these classes, it has been a problem to me.
Which course are you doing? You are doing which course? You are doing which course? DCMS.
DCMS. Yeah.
If it has not reflected, talk to your HOD.
Okay, sir. But I've listened to this class, so you can just.
Wewe wenda uangalie kwanza jina yako ikireflect, alafu ulete hizo shida zingine hapa.
Okay,
Any other person with a problem?
Yes, I'm Gideon Lazaro.
Asante Stacy.
Ni nani ana shida?
Gideon Lazaro. I have a concern.
1023, yes.
Yes. Check the portal in the attendance. The one that you marked today indicates that it is marked for next week 23rd. And today
you are not clear. Sikusikii. Unasema nini?
Unasema.
I
look at the portal, the attendance, the
which one for today?
Today. Indicates that I'm marked absent, then Friday next week the third is marked present. Is that an issue?
Your name is?
Gideon Lazaro.
Kutafute hapa sababu sikusikii vizuri. Your admission number is 1023.
Yes.
Lazaro Dedan.
Yeah.
See, you are present. You can see from your end, I've picked you present. So your number is 07. Okay, 07. I don't know, 70, 54, 80, 65.
Yes.
65, yeah. You are present on my end.
Sha kindly check for a set of
Ati ya nani?
steps.
Sisi tulikuwa na wewe hapa. Si Aseto Stacy. Okay, I've ticked you present. You can see from your end. Your admission number is 8440.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, sir. I'm Nancy Mugambi.
Nancy Mogambi 0873.
Yeah, so teacher iko hivi.
Mm.
On 9, I was present. Last week I was still present, and this week. But umemark hiyo ya 9th absent, ya leo ya last week present, then ya leo umemark ikuwe ya 23rd, ya next week sasa.
Okay, sawa. So I've marked for the 23rd, eh?
Yeah, then ukaniweka present on 9th. Absent on 9th.
On 9th hakuna mtu alikuwa. Were you here? Which topic did I teach on 9th?
Okay, sorry, but hapo umefanya confusion hapo, so I wanted you to correct.
Okay. Hawa wengine wote wameenda. Maybe we repeat next week. The attendance for today and for the next week. That's what I would do for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did not realize. I've realized that I have marked for 23rd. Nikaacha ya 16th. Today is 16th, but nimemark ya 23rd. We will repeat the same exercise next week.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Excuse teacher.
So hakuna haja tuangalie hiyo nini register because nimemark ya 23rd instead of 16th. So I'll work on that next week. Tumeelewana?
Yeah. Yeah, it's now clear.
Who is speaking?
Ale Mgugi.
Unatakaje nani? Kamau. No, ni Kamau Njoroge ama ni William ama ni
Edwin.
Any other concern? Okay, what I'm saying is this. I've realized that I've marked the one for next week